Further discussion. Representative Valderrama, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the bill.
To the bill.
Throughout this session, we've heard directly from thousands of farm workers and farmers about the potential impacts of HB 4002, farm worker overtime. As a member of the Special Committee of Farm Worker Overtime, we heard hours of oral testimony and combed through hundreds of written testimonies on this important bill last week. I'd like to acknowledge the concerns we heard from Oregon farmers, and am glad that as a result of listening to those concerns, this bill includes a report back with the potential recalibration of the refundable tax credit, a grant, loan, or lending program to be recommended back to us by this fall, and a 100% refund for dairy farmers. I've appreciated hearing from the various directly impacted community members about this historic legislation. That being said, I can't stop thinking about some of the most compelling testimony I've heard so far. Maria Estrada has been a farm worker in Oregon for 15 years and urged us to pass overtime. She and her husband have been exposed to chemicals, dust, and other debris doing this work, and it's impacted their health. The worst is when we get hurt, she wrote. Sometimes it's so hard that we just keep going out of fear, or that we'll be fired and we won't be able to provide for our children. Camilo Cirilo Santiago told us that if he had been paid overtime for his labor as an Oregon farm worker since 1978, he would have had more money to pay for his kids' education without feeling overwhelmed by the cost of rent. He goes on to say, "Si me hubieran pagado el overtime, quizá tendría casi casa propia y mejor calidad de vida. If I had been paid overtime, maybe I'd own my own house and have a better quality of life." Carmen Morales Frias told us that after paying for childcare, less than half of her income was left to pay utilities. Carmen speaks about poor working conditions and even recalls a time when she was pushed and physically assaulted by a contractor. In her testimony, Carmen goes on to state, "Los campesinos somos humanos y lo merecemos por tan duro que trabajo. En lo malo y en lo bueno estamos trabajando. Es tiempo que lo reconozcan." Farm workers are humans, and we deserve overtime pay for how hard we work. In the good times and bad, we show up. It's time we are recognized for it. I'm honored to have understood your stories and struggles. As a first-generation Peruvian American, these stories remind me of my own family's experience in this country, overworked and overtired, but still hopeful for the prosperity of tomorrow. Me siento honrada de haber entendido sus historias y luchas. Sus historias me hacen recordar a mi propia familia, sobrecargando de trabajo y cansado, pero aún esperando en la prosperidad del mañana. Les entiendo. As has been stated today, the average life expectancy of a farm worker is just 49 years old. How many people in your family have been blessed to live past that age? How many are approaching it? Dolores Huerta said, "At our table, we have food that was planted, picked, or harvested by a farm worker." Why is it that the people who do the most sacred work in our nation are the most oppressed, the most exploited? Farmers and farm workers feed our communities, and we are long overdue in correcting Oregon's racist exclusion rooted in slavery, which has barred farm workers today from receiving fair compensation for their backbreaking labor. Colleagues, I urge your aye vote.
Thank you, Representative. Further discussion.